Wow. I'm tired.
Looking for saucers in the black night high. Abduction dreams and alien screams. He says they're out there more than it seems. JD's got a lens hunting for Bigfoot's trace. Deep in the woods, in the shadows, embrace a rush on the ground. He's frozen in place. Did you hear that? Something's on the chase.
Welcome to another edition of Chumming with the Spirits podcast. We are joined today by a very special guest here in the Sleeper Mortuary in Iola, Kansas. We have our good friend Jason with us.
Hi.
We got JD down there. I'm Parachum, and welcome to the show. Live from the Sleeper Mortuary.
Well,
we're not live.
We're not live.
We are live in the
We
room.
are live.
Yeah, we're not ghosts, but yes, we're still in Sleeper Mortuary. Weathering out the snowstorm.
Tired. At least I am.
Yeah, you need to knock that off.
Yeah. Drink more, right?
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about probably a couple different topics because of rabbit holes and parachum.
Yeah, we're kind of grouping them all into the same box for this episode of a topic. We're going to talk about the hollow earth theory and postulations, flat earth, the hollow moon theory, and whatever else we stumble across in our journey. Which I
So which one do you
going to
want?
be a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say 7.5 hours later.
So,
That's the heaters kicking on.
okay. I heard rapping on the windows. That's why I stopped.
I didn't hear
It could have been the wind. But let's start with the hollow moon theory.
Hollow moon theory.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Starship
Cool.
moon.
I don't know why I asked him that. It was a stupid.
But where
question.
does it originate from?
The moon or the story?
Where NASA was involved.
Yeah. So I don't remember if it was the first expedition to the moon, but it was one of them, and they were dropping stuff.
Well, they dropped the booster.
The booster on the surface of the moon, and it rang out like a bell.
So that's a little bit different than how you're approaching it, and it's not your fault. So they did drop stuff, but they've also sent stuff and hit the moon.
Yeah.
With it.
Because they have seismic sensors all over the moon.
They say it rang like a bell, not in sound at all, but at vibrations.
Yeah, for how long the vibrations happened on
Yeah. And how it
Richter
radiated
scales.
out.
That-
Not necessarily that it rang like a bell. I think that
Not
not that you're
audibly.
doing it wrong. That's
Yes.
how they describe it. But I think that people get an idea of a picture of it ringing like a bell, which it doesn't actually ring like it didn't actually.
Well,
ring
technically,
like a
how would
bell.
you be able to tell if it rang like a bell? There's no air, so you wouldn't hear anything.
Yes, and
Unless you're inside the hollow moon.
it's true.
You're just giving aliens headaches because we're ringing the bell.
I mean, there's a lot of.
But I mean, they
theories.
also said that it could be just way less dense than what the Earth is. So, or there could be tunnels. There's a bunch of other plausibles. But other way, the center of the moon, the way the sound waves traveled after the impacts suggests that it's not as dense as like the Earth.
Yeah, and
it
there's-
threw everybody off when it
Well, it
happened.
doesn't. Just for argument's sake, scientifically, they say that it's doesn't have a molten core, doesn't have the heavy metals in the middle, so it could do that even if it's not hollow.
vibrationally.
Yeah, it comes down to the mass of what's in it could allow the sound to travel better than.
No, that's fair.
But I like the idea that the inside is hollow and it was some kind of station in the past.
Right
a lot
here.
of people are under the assumption that there's a Dyson sphere inside of it, harnessing a dwarf star.
I just wonder where they get that idea from. Like, what evidence, not even evidence, what made them have that opinion? Like, what did they see? Was the only thing I could think of that could possibly be something that somebody saw was like a vision or a remote viewing, maybe. Maybe I could see that argument, but not
Yeah,
conspiracy
telescope.
theory just saying, oh, there's a Dyson sphere in there because it's a sphere.
But the people don't realize is the moon's not spherical.
Perfectly.
It's oblong.
Yeah, but
But there,
it wouldn't be against argument that there couldn't be that in there.
yeah.
No, but it argues against that being the reason for them to assume that there is.
I don't know. I just don't understand. I can't wrap my mind around where somebody would get that idea unless they were remote viewing it. Maybe that's where that came from.
It may be. I'd have to look that up. I'm not 100%
Positive on that.
positive.
So, I have heard people talk about the idea of what might power it if it is some sort of craft. So maybe their theory is that they would need something like that to power the craft that size. But that, I just don't see any evidence of that. Or it's dead.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they also harken back to there are certain Native American tribes have oral traditions stating that they were around when there was no moon and it came in. And then
that's a worldwide thing, not just Native Americans.
Well, and there's a lot of weird coincidences with our moon. Our moon is pretty unique in our solar system. How far it's out, how it lines up with the eclipse, how it's a fixed orbit is one of the biggest things. The fact that it always has the same side facing us, which doesn't explain why there's meteor strikes on that. You'd think we would be the one. If the side closest to us shouldn't be taking meteor strikes.
That's not. I mean, I guess
it is.
So that it could come in at an angle.
Yeah, and hit it. But
that's the weird thing, though.
They always thought the moon was particular.
Moon, you don't. There are craters. There's no skidding.
No, there is.
On the surface that we can see?
I mean, there is some. It's not direct impact. There is some that come at angles.
But not as many. Most of them are perfectly circular. Well, what's really odd, though, from the observation from telescopes and that, because I haven't been to the moon, most of the depths of those impacts are almost all uniform, which is very odd that because on the Earth, there's impact sites that are a mile deep versus half a mile. On the moon, they all seem to have a light dusting on the very top, and they go all down to about the same layer. But don't know what the construction of the moon's like.
Yeah.
Could that be a side effect of the only things that are getting through to strike the moon are rocks from the asteroid belt that are being dislodged from larger beams?
No, because the Earth has been hit by things
that
aren't just asteroids.
Comets.
I can't think of an example to name off the top of my head, but I feel like we have evidence of being hit by comets. We have things that get close to us that come from outside of the asteroid belt all the time. They travel through the asteroid belt or in different angles to come in, and they could potentially hit us.
And that's something else people don't understand is like the asteroid belt we think of as like Star Wars, where they're all it's the asteroids themselves are fairly wide apart. Mm-hmm. It's just a whole area that we know of where you have.
Damn it, Star Wars!
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's asteroid belts somewhere, but yeah, they were talking about that the asteroid belt. Yeah, there's a bunch of rocks, but it's not as densely populated like a ring.
Mm-hmm. And if they were bouncing off each other all the time, we couldn't say there would be a lot more close calls. I would feel like.
Yeah, they're pretty much stationary. Yeah.
They're in a not geosynchronous, that's Earth, but they are in a synchronous orbit around the sun. each individual piece. For the most part, they do run into each other, but they don't necessarily travel very far afterwards. Not at any speed. It's not like one is coming really faster than the other one and knocks it out. It does happen where things come in from outside the solar system.
Yeah, and disrupt it. Yeah. Well, like a comet going through could pull them out of orbit.
But as far as hollow moon goes, I would think that there would be some impacts that would penetrate the surface of the moon if it was hollow. Because any mineral or anything that they can construct, there would be something in an asteroid or a comet that could penetrate if it's flying fast enough. I mean, I would say that probably 90%. There could be some kind of technology we don't know about that makes something completely impenetrable by everything, but...
Or self-heals.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've
That'd explain why they're always the same depth, is that's the zone that it heals at.
Well,
everything above it.
Evidence of that on Skinwalker Ranch when it's bombarded by radiation, electron microscopy, it will separate and then self-heal itself. So maybe there is some sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, and then you get into the dark side of the moon stories, like, there's colonies over there. That's why we never went back. I mean, there are so many myths about the moon, whether or not we landed or not, what's on the backside of it, which all adds, then you throw in this hollow moon theory, you throw in native or worldwide stories of it not being there. It got brought in because, like, the most scientific thought process was it's a part of the earth that was blasted out at one of the impacts, but they're finding that out to be less and less likely because of the makeup of the moon.
I'm trying to remember, because I have researched this some before. I'm trying to remember with those ancient tribes, their stories. I'm trying to remember if there are actual stories about the moon arriving, or if there are just some accounts where they never talked about the moon once, which an ancient culture would mention the moon because it's the most prominent thing in the sky other than the sun. So I can't remember off the top of my head which case it is. If there is documentation of cultures talking about the moon's arrival, or if there's just cultures that don't talk about the moon at all.
I do know that there is one North American tribe that their oral tradition is that the sky people brought the moon and then came down and talked to them. But that's only one of the tribes. That's, I believe, the one down in Arizona that does the
Hopi.
Maybe the Hopi. Yeah.
The Hopi are also the ones that have the inner earth ant people that came up and saved them during the last cataclysm.
Yep.
Which hidden earth
might be why we can't go back. Why I can't go hiking certain parts of the Grand Canyon.
Could be. Or they're ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, which would throw off our timeline.
Yeah, well, I like to think there's some kind of entrance down there.
Could be.
We can try to sneak in there.
So let's talk about Hollow Earth, shall we?
All right. So
I know it was the concept of it was started back in like the late 19th or 17th century, by what was his name? That's right here. Edmund Halley or Halley.
You like Halley's Comet?
Wait, that name I think is not. Where did you say that name at? The Hollow Earth.
Agarthan civilization.
Oh, Halley. So the guy that flew, I can't remember.
Over the Antarctica.
Antarctica has a very similar name, so that's why I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, and he claims that there's walls, and then, which it is weird that only certain people can go
to Antarctica.
Yeah.
He may be the one that popularized it, but I feel like there are not ancient, but much older stories from monks in like Tibet that would talk about stairways into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was
Well,
the first one
Nirvana
to
and
postulate
other-
that it was scientifically possible.
Yeah.
And then they disproved it.
Well, they say that, but now we're finding more and more stuff. Like there's,
King Kong.
well, no, they've now realized that there is a pocket of water, of fresh water, in the middle of the earth, in the crust layers, that has more water than what's on the surface.
Wow.
I guess we should talk a little bit about what hollow earth would mean.
Oh, what when they were talking about those stories, what it meant to be.
Well, so there's the idea that there might be openings at the poles and that there's a surface inside with an inner sun.
Yeah.
And there could be people living and things living on that surface inside the concave part of the earth. And there's an inner light source that lights it. There's that idea.
Like the land of the lost.
Yeah. Or there's no holes at the pole and it still has the same kind of thing. Or it could just be a pocket deep in the earth. It would still be considered hollow earth that's inhabitable somehow. It doesn't necessarily have to be the huge, like...
Yeah, the whole core is missing, and it's a world. Yeah, there's... Well...
Sorry.
You know, some of the stuff might be Mandela effects, but like they're talking about Arctic Circle North. Mm-hmm. There's no land underneath it.
Yeah,
I always thought there was a small island small piece of land up there, but it's all ice.
It's all ice,
all the way up to the North Pole. So then you wouldn't be able to have a portal there. It'd have to be at Antarctica, which is off limits. To go to.
That's true, but it's also not true because they also claim that there is an inner. Some people do claim that there is an entrance at the North Pole too. We just don't. But just because we're told there's just water there doesn't mean that it doesn't curve in.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I mean, you don't see pictures, and Google Earth doesn't do a good job.
There's also a lot. When we're going to talk about flat Earth, we don't have to get into that yet. But there's a lot of people that talk about a magnetic mountain at the North Pole that poles are compass towards it. So
I've heard that.
We can get into that in a little bit when we go into flat Earth.
But another Mandela effect, fossil fuels. Are they made of dinosaurs or not?
I think the fossil fuels was originally called fossil fuels, so they were thought to be scarce so they could charge more for it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because now we're finding out that fossil fuels, oil, well, and it also gave it a sense of being bio, not
Cleaner
naturally.
for the environment.
Yeah, and the reality of it is they don't know how oil is made. Crude oil, it may be self-renewing. They don't know because the cycle could be millions of years for it.
Yeah.
But, growing up, I remembered, it was the decaying components of dinosaurs that made it. And like, I believe it was to give it a scarcity to help inflate the value of it. And then all these pockets have been found.
If you think back about that, they have, in some areas, they have to drill down thousands of feet to pull oil out. That was probably never surface rock, at least at the time of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So how did the dinosaurs get down there and decay and turn into oil?
Magic.
Or did they seep down there? I don't know. It could be that we are just liquefying the people we pull up from inner Earth.
Or maybe that was inner Earth at one point in time and it collapsed and it turned them all into oil.
But we can't talk about hollow Earth without talking about the green kids out of, I can't remember where they're from.
Woolpit.
We did an episode on that.
Okay, yeah.
WOOL.
And that's some of those stories that kind of lead some credence to a possibility that there may be areas on the Earth that we're not quite aware of.
Well, everybody knows that there's massive cave systems under us in pretty much all land masses.
Yep.
Yes.
There's open space down there. So that doesn't mean necessarily hollow Earth in the traditional idea of it, but it could be habitable space.
Yeah.
I mean, you never went there with me. This was a man-made area, but several years ago, I got to investigate a couple times at salt mine in Kansas.
Yeah, Stratica.
We went down 3,000, very far. We were underneath a lake, we were underneath an underground lake in this massive hundreds of mile man-made cave system investigating. Well, they have natural areas like that where there's water and all kinds of stuff between you and the surface that, sure, they could flood, but it doesn't.
Well, the aquifers in western Kansas is a huge basin of water that goes up and down. Who knows what's in it? I mean, just because you don't have light.
Pretty sure there's water in it.
Yeah, hopefully. But what else is down there? Like we're finding out stuff at the frozen lake or the lake that's in Antarctica that's underneath the ice of 2 miles thick of ice. There are creatures down there that have adapted to, which they think now is probably volcanic activity to keep it where its temperature is at.
Liquefied.
Yeah. Well, and they're finding that the deepest parts of the oceans, there's life abundance where there's volcanic activity, where it gets the water slightly warm enough. But
so let's take a quick break real fast, refill our drinks. And when we come back, we'll get into I think is going to be the most interesting part of the episode, flat Earth. So we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is JD with Chumming with the Spirits podcast. What's the perfect way to spice up any recipe you can think of? That's right, it's the perfect sauce. Big Fork Brands has a wide variety of the perfect sauces for any occasion. If you're craving something special for that late night snack, mid-afternoon pick-me-up, or just something tasty for the special event, be sure to check out their amazing bacon sausages, paleo pork jerkies, and flavored meat sticks. Of all the products can be purchased at www.bigforkbrands.com. Here at Chumming with the Spirits podcast, we always keep some of their incredible sauces and meat sticks on hand for those long days and nights of recording. Don't forget to use the code CHUMMING, CHUMMING, at checkout to receive 20% off your order.
Welcome back. We have refilled our drinks, used the restroom, and ready to dig into this next topic.
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Flat Earth. So I know there's a lot of origins for the thought process of
So you can tell me about a turtle and a bear.
Yeah, so I was researching the Lenape tribe, the Delaware tribe earlier, and one of their biggest things is that we live on a surface on the back of a giant turtle floating through space. And I know that's one of the big theories for flat Earth is about that. But I wanted to kind of get your guys' interpretations on like the ice wall and the maps that I've seen where we're just like a little cluster in a giant field of other little ice wall clusters. Have you seen that map?
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts?
On that particular subject? I mean, I know that we manipulate the Earth when we film it from out of orbit, because it always shows up as a perfect sphere, and it's not a perfect sphere. Our maps are totally screwed up on the way when you actually talk about sizes, the way they laid it out. Africa is way bigger than what most people realize. Well, even the United States is bigger than what people realize.
Yeah, Africa is actually smaller than the United States, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's portrayed as bigger.
Yeah, and it's the way the map got laid out, and they stretched certain things to make it
fit.
Yeah,
a perfect square or rectangle or whatever. You call it. And some of it was political too. They have certain things bigger than what they actually are. They shrunk Africa, compensating,
something like that. But there's also things like the horizon throws people off. You know, if we're curved, why can you see things miles away? Because the radius of the Earth is supposed to be, what, for every 6 miles it's supposed to drop so many inches.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. And the problem is when you go out and do that,
it's not millimeters; it's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's inches. I mean, there's things that like long range shooting, Cornelius effect of the bullet and time. But is that just a good guess? because you are looking at something a mile away.
Yeah.
But you can see things more than a mile away.
Oh yeah, like out in western Kansas, I think at that lookout, the castle that we went to,
Yeah.
Coronado.
they said it was like 10 miles or something like that.
Let's shoot Pawnee Rock. You can see up to 20 miles away on a clear day. Now, keep in mind it's elevated, so that allows you to see better versus being flat and looking out. But those are some of the arguments that they have for flat Earth. Is like some of the perceptions don't add up. You shouldn't be able to see certain buildings with binoculars. It should be further down in the horizon if the Earth has this perfect curve. But what we're finding out, the Earth doesn't have a perfect curve. That there may be, there may be areas that you can see things that don't line up with a perfect sphere. But I don't know if I'd go so far as being flat, since, another thing you bring up is the way planes flight. If you look at flights paths,
they take curved paths,
which
it's shorter distance,
and they're like, well, that's on a sphere. But when you look at what the paths they go, they don't make sense. Even if you turn it into a sphere, and how they go, where they are close to, doesn't line up. But that could also be because the way we represent Earth on the sphere isn't one-to-one, really.
Well, and so there's potential ways to explain some of those flight paths by the way you draw a circular map with the North Pole in the center. Some of those, but not all of them, work out that way either.
Yeah.
And that's just another drawing. I have to say that I don't necessarily think that the Earth is flat. I leave a little bit of room for the possibility of it. I struggle with, unless there is another area outside of us on a flat plane, I struggle with the reason why we would be told that it wasn't flat. If it was.
Yeah.
I don't see the motivation for hiding it from the human population if there wasn't something outside of our flat area that they would hold. I mean, there's arguments that say that there's a firmament over a sphere over us, and we can't leave. But to me, that wouldn't fulfill the motive of not telling us that we're flat, because if we can't leave, they can't leave.
Yeah.
If they can leave, well, then there must be something else out there to go to. That would be the reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason I could see why they wouldn't tell us is if they were gaining something from it, not just because, I want people to think it's a sphere.
Yeah.
That's
then you have the time travel relativity tests where they took a plane and put a stopwatch on it and had a stopwatch on land and had the plane fly around the Earth, come back, and the times are off. Because of relativity, you have not. Oh, that's a theory of relativity, is how close you are to Earth versus how far away. And you can, if you travel fast enough because of the time zones, you can actually time travel. That's been proven. But again, how do you prove that going around a circle if it's flat?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the argument would be that they flew in a circle like this and they changed the watch a little bit or whatever. The thing about all of this is anybody that wants to believe it can have any reason not to believe it.
Yeah.
There's no way to prove it to yourself either way.
Yeah. Unless you are a multimillionaire and can go up in a...
Even then, you can go up and prove to yourself maybe if you survive, but you're not proving anything to anybody else.
Yeah. No, just say it's CGI'd.
Yeah.
Anymore, yeah. 100 years ago, they may have thought a little different.
100 years ago.
But then you wouldn't have the evidence because we wouldn't have had video cameras like we have now.
They had cameras, just not video.
Just not video cameras, yeah.
So 100 years ago isn't as long ago as you think. 100 years ago was right after World War I.
Yeah.
50s.
No, the 20s. Not stupid, just slow.
My mama had me tested.
But so I think the big one was Tartaria, right? Over the ice wall.
Tartaria was, well,
There's new evidence.
there's some people that talk about how it might have been over the ice wall, but most people that talk about Tartaria say that it is either a current land of what it used to be Tartaria, like we found the buildings after the mud flood is what they call it, or it was like Atlantis, it was out in the ocean, it was sunk. It wasn't necessarily outside of our area.
Okay.
So there's a new map that was supposedly discovered in a sunken ship that actually has the landmass named Tartaria. But again, with AI, it's hard to do.
When the Chinese had maps that talked about Tartaria, they had writings that talked about Tartaria, but they don't. The problem is anybody could have made a map back then. It doesn't mean that they were right. There's all kinds. Most maps from 500 years ago were wrong. And then there's people that see. Larry actually sent me this TikTok a couple of years ago as a globe in a movie, and they spin the globe in the movie, and there looks like there's a landmass out in the ocean next to Australia.
Oh yeah.
And that's still going around. People still share that. But what that is actually just the Globe company making a tag saying the name of the Globe company. It's a little.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's New Zealand.
No, it's a round thing out in the ocean outside of Australia. But
so
it's actually just what's called a map. It's not a legend. I can't remember what it is, but it is just saying the name of the company that made the map.
Well, there's a lot of old practices on maps was to add features that weren't actually there, that you created something new. So if your map was copied, you knew it was copied because that information wasn't real.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the map of? We did a brief story about the map,
The Perry Reese map.
because the fascinating about that is how old the map is. But all his source code, all the source maps that he would have had to have would have predated all that.
Yep.
To be able to draw off of, and it showed the landmass in Antarctica, hundreds of years before it was actually discovered,
With correct coastline.
very accurate coastlines. Yeah, and that's predating the last ice age. That's what threw a lot of scientists off. Was it's the land, not the ice.
Yeah.
But
there's also oral traditions passed down from cultures that were taking up in airships or spaceships or whatever the translation came out to be, and they described other continents on the planet. Ones that we did find that they feel that they had no way of potentially knowing, like the landmass underneath the ice in Antarctica.
I mean, it has the lines, the Nazca lines that can only be seen from space. Well, not space, but from up above,
very high up.
Well, and there's other ones found in North America. They're being found more often.
They just discovered some in China, I think.
I think there's a ton of stuff in China that it hasn't been discovered or has been at least slightly discovered. They just don't have the manpower or the resources to really look into it. It's like, did you find?
I think they have the manpower.
Well, they got the manpower. It's just time and resources. It's no different than Göbekli Tepe and Turkey. Like they're what's been 5 years now, 5 or 6 years.
They haven't made any progress because of.
I thought they reburied it.
I think they reburied part of it.
Yeah.
But again, but
they couldn't get through the red tape.
It's in Chanute.
What? I didn't get a message. What's going on here?
But I mean, the oral traditions of the flat Earth generally dictate us being on a animal. Like you said, there's a probability, but whether or not how high it is with what we know so far. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't been lied to. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to the government. And, like you said, why would they lie about it being flat? If it is flat, what information is there to be gained by telling people, other than most people believe in the mass hysteria that you don't want to cause panic?
I feel the same way about UFOs. Why would they tell us about UFOs unless they had something to gain from it? The only reason disclosure will happen is either the aliens reveal themselves, which people won't believe anyways. If the government tells us that aliens are real, they are only doing it because they are getting something out of it. That's the only reason. They're not going to just out of the kindness of their hearts say, hey, we've been working with these aliens for 100 years. It wouldn't help them in any way unless
they have something that has to gain from it, like something's coming soon.
Destroy us all or something.
Well, I think that if something was coming to destroy us all, they wouldn't tell us.
No, they wouldn't.
It would have to be something like
The Atlas
Roosevelt signed a 100-year agreement, and we're coming up on the agreement, and then the aliens get to take over, so they got to tell us so they can start building weapons to fight them off. But really, they just want to fund their wars. But that's a whole nother topic.
I mean, we do have Space Force now.
Yeah, but Space Force is actually very necessary because of satellites and space weapons and other stuff.
Well, outer solar system threats, like asteroids and comets coming through.
A lot of people think that Trump came up with Space Force and started it, but it had been a plan to start Space Force for several decades beforehand. They just never actually implemented it until he did.
Wasn't it?
A lot of people laughed at him, but it wasn't his idea, and he just was at the time that they decided to implement.
Thought it was a good idea.
Wasn't it Reagan?
Well, they had the Star Wars thing with Reagan. Okay. I don't know when the Space Force was first talked about as a military aspect, but it definitely was a few decades before Trump.
Oh yeah, no.
But he gets credit for it.
Yeah, he also gets laughed at for it. Not these days, but when he first started.
Everybody thought it was hilarious. And well, to be fair though, the insignia was almost copied from
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Do you think Trump made that?
No.
So, to close this episode out, of the three main topics that we talked about today, what one would you feel would be the easiest for people to understand and comprehend if it actually came out that it was?
I think some sort of inner Earth. I think the likely idea that there were some sort of even civilization of some sort inside of our planet would be the easiest to wrap their minds around, because finding out the moon is hollow, well, it depends. If we just find out the moon is hollow, but they have an explanation for why it created itself, some of the gravitational spinning, that's a lot different than saying, oh, it was a space station and there's structures and stuff inside of there.
Yes.
And I also guess it depends on Hollow Earth, because it's a lot different than having cavities within the Earth that people could survive and having a full hollow Earth with a sun in the middle of it. And I think flat Earth has just been debated way too much. Everybody knows. Everybody that's not into paranormal and flat Earth stuff knows how they feel about it. So they're not going to believe it either way anyways.
I was going to go with I think the hollow moon would be easier to explain, but same premise is how are you explaining it?
Yes.
If it's a less dense material or there's cavities, and I think it'd be easier to explain that scientifically than the hollow Earth. Because again, which version of the hollow Earth? It would not surprise me for us to find, because we're finding in Italy, there are whole cities that are finding that were dug into tunnels that could hold 30,000 people. Humans have a history of amnesia. There's a lot of history we don't know about. we think we've been around for 200 million years. In 10,000 years, we went to the moon and back. We sent probes out. So what do we do for the other 190? You know, so
Yeah.
there could be tunnels. There could be whole civilizations underneath the ocean. We don't know. Like, we're still finding out new things. Oil's not fossil fuel.
Yeah.
The huge water reserves that are below.
Just because there had been a civilization down there doesn't mean it's still there.
Yeah.
It would still be the same result if we found that there had been a civilization down there. Obviously, we would have to deal with whatever civilization was there if we did discover it and they were still active. But it's the same whether they're still there or not.
But what about the UFOs coming out of the water?
Well,
Could
that's
that
true,
be
too.
them having more technology than us?
Breakaway civilizations is a whole nother story, a whole nother topic.
All from the time machine. What is it? What were the ones on the surface versus the ones the Morlocks?
Morlocks. Yeah.
The ones down below that were cannibalistic. They're divergent humans.
So let us know in the comments and comments.
Comment sections?
Yeah, the comment section. What your thoughts are, if we've missed anything that you think.
Should we
We
redo
missed
it?
a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's
a
ton of stuff.
For all that.
Yeah. So please go like and subscribe to Strange Paranormal. It is going to be pretty active coming up here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, February 2nd, we're going to start doing live content. And that live content will turn into videos that you can watch afterwards if you don't catch the live content.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So until next time.
But TikTok, YouTube, Rumble.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just go
Facebook.
to strangeparanormal.com and follow us on YouTube at least. It's strange-paranormal on YouTube. But all the links are on the website, and we'll be live in several places. I just don't know 100% which all places they will be. But all the video content will definitely be on YouTube after we go live.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Until next time.
Be safe out there.